All right, let's jump right in. Packers lose to the Vikings 31-29 on Sunday. It is Mitch. I am on YouTube. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Trying to build this thing up. I told you guys on Friday, usually right after Packer games, I get something posted in an instant reaction, like an hour after the game goes final. Told you guys I was going to be at the game yesterday, so the reaction would have to come later on, meaning Monday, of course. I'm very well aware that my voice is shot. It's probably great that I didn't try to record a video yesterday after the game because my voice was even worse. Obviously, it's a result of being at the game and watching that pitiful first half. But if you want to know really the larger reason as to why the voice is even worse than it is after some Packer games I go to, it's Braden Narveson. And you can call it low-hanging fruit. We're starting with the kicker. Narv Dog, as some call him, decided it'd be cool to miss, a 36, 37-yard field goal in yesterday's game. Vikings go right down the field and score. It's 7 rip out of the gates. Packers drive right back, stall out. Narv Dog comes out for a chip shot in the NFL and decides to hit it off the right upright. 6 start for Green Bay. I wasn't yelling at Narveson directly. I'm not that kind of fan. I was more so looking up to the high heavens and begging and pleading for some higher power to give the Packers a damn kicker that can make the easy ones, that can make the chip shots. I've said it over and over and over again. By the way, well aware, this is probably not aesthetically pleasing for anybody to listen to. I'm freaking grinding through this with the voice right now because I wanted to get a video out for you guys and keep that consistency going. So I know this probably sounds absolutely miserable. My pipes are begging for a break right now. They don't want me to be using my vocal cords, but I am because I'm upset after the Packers lost. But grand scheme, I think they're going to be okay. I do. I thought there were a couple of positives. But Narveson in the kicking situation is a freaking mess. I am agitated by those who say the Packers lost because of Narveson. I think it's idiotic to say, hey, the Packers lost by 2 and Narveson missed 2 field goals. That's 6 points. We could have won by 4. The Packers weren't down 2 and Narveson missed a kick on the second last possession and then missed another one that would win the game on the last possession. So I don't think those are equivalent matters. The Packers didn't lose directly because of Narveson, but he sure as hell didn't do his job, and it sure as hell didn't help that he missed 2 field goals. It's an absolute momentum killer when you give up a touchdown on an opening drive and you respond with a decent drive yourself and then miss a chip shot field goal. And then for a cherry on top, when Green Bay's down 21-0 in the first half and you're looking for some sort of momentum, Narveson thought it'd be cool to miss a 48-yard field goal as well. It's absolutely insane that they can't find a kicker. I had 3 buddies come to town and hang out with for the weekend for this game. And we were out to eat Saturday watching college football games. And like the running joke was we're watching college kickers like bang 52-yarders with ease. That would be good from like 58, 59. And it's right down the middle. And every game we're watching where a kicker in college is making a long kick, we're like sarcastically saying, hey, that'd be sick if the Packers had that. And you're talking about it at the NFL level where you should have that at kicker or some sort of consistency. And Green Bay still hasn't been able to solve that riddle. I'm watching Greg Joseph get scooped up by the Giants last week and go 5 for 5 on Thursday night against Dallas. Now, I can't blame the Packers for cutting Greg Joseph after training camp and preseason. I was not one of those on the ship that said, hey, let's keep Greg Joseph. I also was not one on the ship that said, let's keep Anders Carlson. I wanted them to go outside higher. Maybe I was wrong because clearly this has been a disaster. And I actually laughed just watching Greg Joseph last Thursday make one field goal after another for the Giants because it's so poetic that the Packers can't solve their kicking woes. But a guy they had in the building this summer got scooped up by the Giants because the Giants starting kicker was hurt. And Joseph goes out there and goes 5 for 5. And I'm really going to just open up the wounds and pour some salt in with a couple of facts for you guys. NFL kickers are 115 for 116 on field goals under 40 yards this season. The only miss was Braden Narveson on Sunday against Minnesota. Kickers in the NFL this year between 40 and 49 yards are 80% on converting those kicks. From 40 to 49 yards, NFL kickers are making them at an 80% clip if you take Narveson out of the equation. And you have to take him out of the equation because Narveson from that same range, 40 to 49 yards, is 3 for 6, 50%. Matt LaFleur gave him a vote of confidence after the game. I don't know if he had much choice but to do that. I wish sometimes they could just be more brutally honest and say, hey, you know what? Narveson was not good today. It has to be better. There needs to be accountability. We're going to go over all our options. Maybe Green Bay isn't to that stage yet, and they're just going to ride this thing out. I don't think it's a good look if you just keep having a revolving door and try to bring in one kicker after another. But this is not ideal for Green Bay, and I'm sick and tired. You're sick and tired. We're sick and tired of watching game after game after game in college and the NFL where it seems like kickers have never been more accurate. Now, I don't have the stats in front of me to prove that today. It is something I want to do a deep dive into, but I feel like even in college, like a 40-yard field goal always used to be like a mystery in college, I feel like even 7-8 years ago. And now these guys, even at that level, are converting, it appears, at an incredible rate. And in the NFL, the stats do speak for themselves, where I said kickers are 115 for 116 on field goal attempts under 40 yards. The only miss is Narveson on Sunday. So he's the reason my voice is absolutely toasted right now, because I was looking up to the sky yesterday, pleading. I was willing to compromise and say, hey, what's the offer on the table for the Packers to have a kicker that can just make the easy ones? I've said it over and over again. I don't care if Narveson is shaky occasionally from 50 plus. It's the easy ones you have to make. It's the 36-yarder that you bricked off the upright yesterday. It's the 48-yarder that you missed that NFL kickers are making at an 80% clip this year, but you're making them at a 50% clip. It's terrible. You can't have it. And I saw some people saying, hey, I didn't look this up either to see if it was accurate. I saw some tweets where people were like, Anders didn't miss a field goal attempt from 40 or less last year. I don't know if that's correct. I know he had the 41-yarder against San Francisco, but that doesn't count on the regular season total. Hey, geniuses, Anders Carlson missed the most extra points in the NFL last year. The 36-yard chip shot that Narveson missed was terrible, but on extra points for some reason or another, I feel confident with him kicking those. Anders was such an adventure last year, I couldn't even get up to take a leak or refill my water when he was kicking extra points because PATs became appointment television when Anders was the kicker. So I don't know what the fix is. I'm upset. We're all upset. But I don't have a solution because I don't want them to just keep funneling in one kicker after another to try to figure it out and then try to strike gold with one. But it's a disaster. And he's not the reason they lost the game, but it sucks a lot of momentum out of the team, out of that building, out of that stadium when it's 7-0 and you piece together a nice drive and then miss a chip shot and then it's 21-0 and you're a little more desperate because you just want to get that goose egg off the scoreboard and you miss another one. That kickers in the NFL have been converting at a pretty high clip this year. Can't stand it. Mitch, I am on YouTube. Please subscribe. Apologize for the voice. I know this can't sound great. I know I'm not an idiot. Maybe I'm an idiot for trying to record this anyways, but I know it can't sound great. Okay? Well aware. Hopefully the voice is back by tomorrow or in a couple of days. The offense for Green Bay, it was such a mess early on. The weird thing was, because it was so sloppy, there's penalties, there's turnovers, and we'll dive into that. And I am bopping around a lot, almost as if this is one of those instant reaction videos. I thought, though, the offense was moving the ball fairly well on Brian Flores' defense. They just couldn't finish drives. Like, even when you're down 28 rip at halftime, there were possessions where they moved the ball really well and had some chunk plays. They just couldn't get the exclamation point at any point in time. Green Bay had a 10-play, 51-yard drive. 51-yard drive resulted in a missed field goal. They had a 7-play, 40-yard drive. Missed field goal. 10 plays, 36 yards, turnover on downs. 10 plays, 48 yards, turnover on downs. And I realized the turnover on downs possessions were more of a desperation matter where you needed touchdowns and couldn't settle for field goals. And also you probably don't trust sending Narveson out in any situation right now. But I thought the offense they were a bit off. And Jordan Love did look rusty. He did miss some layups. He did miss some bunnies, some throws that, especially on a couple crossers where his receivers at times didn't help him out. I thought Green Bay officially was charged with 3 drops, and they were 3 for 11 on contested catches, which you would like that to be a little bit higher when you have some big physical wide receivers. Dobbs is usually good at those contested catches. Wicks can make those plays as well, and they were just 3 for 11 in that category. But it's hard to point the finger at the wide receivers in this one. I thought Love was pretty rusty. Just seemed a bit off, but they were able to still drive it down the field. I'm not going to say at ease, but fairly regularly. But in the first half, the scoreboard obviously didn't reflect that because they couldn't finish drives, and they had the 2 missed field goals. Even more alarming, kind of tied in with that, there aren't too many games where Green Bay's playing at home at Lambeau Field, and they force 3 turnovers and lose. Now, I thought the defense was abysmal, especially in the first 30 minutes. And how you view this game might come down to whether or not you thought the Vikings sort of buckled down and got conservative in the second half and just played not to lose, or if Green Bay actually started to figure things out defensively and on offense. So I don't know, what side of the aisle many of you fall on that regard. I did think the Vikings got pretty conservative in the second half. Green Bay came alive and obviously started to figure things out a little bit, but 28-0 halftime lead, hard to lose that in the NFL. The Packers almost did it. I mean, it was 28-22 with 10:16 left, and then the defense gave up another long drive with some big chunk plays where the Vikings ended up getting points out of it. But there aren't too many games at Lambeau where Green Bay is going to force 3 turnovers and lose. The problem is you had 4. You had 3 interceptions. You had a fumble in the fourth quarter by Tucker Kraft. And, oh my gosh, I was so juiced up and so jazzed up when I saw the pregame tweet by the Packers and J-Love's walking into the crib with Brett Favre's jersey on. I was like, okay, we're back. We're back. J-Love's wearing Favre's jersey into Lambeau. Packers, Vikings, let's go. We're ready. That fired me the hell up. Again, this is cherry picking a bit, and I did see people have this take on social media. It was like a nice ode to Favre by Jordan Love, because he looked really good at times, and then at other moments he made like throws where you're like, what the hell is going through his mind to make that? And that was a lot of Favre's career, even though he was brilliant for so many of them for Green Bay. But Love had 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Who was the last Packers quarterback to have 4 touchdowns and 3 picks in a game? Brett Favre back in 1999. So he's going to get better, you would think. I mentioned it was sloppy. Green Bay had 8 penalties. The Packers are 28th in penalties this year. I can sit here and say it has to get fixed. It has to get cleaned up. They know that. They know they have to clean up the penalties. The Packers are not usually a highly penalized team when you go back and look in recent history. But this year they're 28th in the NFL in penalties, 8.5 per game. And for reference, they averaged 5.9 penalties per game last year and 5.2 the year before that. So it's gone up the last 3 years, and it has been so sloppy, and it's on both sides. I mean, we're seeing offsides on the defensive line. We're seeing holdings on the offense. We saw a personal foul face mask by the defense against Aaron Jones yesterday. It's sloppy. That has to get cleaned up. The 3 takeaways are great, but when you give it away 4 times, obviously that's not gonna help your cause. Mitch, I am on YouTube. Please subscribe. We're hanging in there. And when I started recording, I'll be honest, I'll give you a peek behind the curtain here. About 60 seconds into recording this, I was like, I forgot to bring my water bottle in here. Like, I could have used a sip of water, and instead of you watching me take the drink of water, I could have put a picture up from the game. So I'm taking like a 2-second break to get a quick drink. I forgot to bring the water in, so this is all tremendous. Really, I know I led with Narvison. The defense was so frustrating yesterday. I should say this. The game plan was so damn frustrating to me and so disappointing. I harped over and over again last week. Nobody's blitzing the Vikings this year. Nobody. Sam Darnold, out of the 32 qualified starting quarterbacks in the NFL, was getting blitzed the 3rd least amount of times entering Sunday's game against Green Bay. And I thought the Packers had a chance on the opening drive of the game to really set the tone and say, we're going to bring it, and we're not going to give you a clean pocket, and we're not going to sit back there and let you slice and dice like you did against Houston, like you did against San Francisco, like you did against the New York Giants. And on that opening drive, the Vikings had a 3rd and 14 on their own 40-yard line, and the Packers rushed 4, and the Vikings had some extra help to block. And Sam Darnold had an eternity of time to throw, and he flung a dart down the field, 31 yards to Jalen Naylor, and the Vikings moved the chains, and they ended up scoring a touchdown. I'm not saying I wanted Jeff Hafley to send the house on that 3rd and 14, but I wanted them to rush more than 4 just to say, we're going to set the tone. This isn't going to look like the first 3 weeks where nobody blitzed you and you have all day in the pocket to throw. And that first drive was a tone setter in the wrong direction for Green Bay. A 3rd and 14 from their own 40. Green Bay rushes forward. It was not a quick hit for Darnold. It was longer developing routes down the field because the Vikings weren't trying to go for something underneath and then see what they could get yards after the catch. They were longer developing routes. Naylor for 31. There you go. The Vikings move the chains, end up getting a touchdown. And I thought that was a tone setter. That's how it was most of the day. Sam Darnold wasn't pressured. He had a clean pocket most of the afternoon. The Packers only had 3 quarterback hits. And it was very frustrating to me because I thought this wasn't facing Jalen Hurts. This wasn't facing Anthony Richardson, where you think you have to contain and keep the quarterback in the pocket. Now, Darnold, to his credit, used his legs when he needed to and actually busted off, I think, a couple 10-plus yard runs, if I remember correctly. But I wanted Green Bay to bring the pressure because I don't think Sam Darnold in this offense, I really don't think this Vikings team has faced much adversity this year when it comes to how these games have unraveled. I told you guys a week ago, they have trailed for 4 minutes this year. Think about that. That's incredible. In the National Football League, through 4 games, you've trailed for a total of 4 minutes. And it came in the first quarter of week 1 against the New York Giants when they trailed 7-3 and said, okay, let's put this thing, let's kick it up a gear or two. And then they scored, went up 10-3. They never trailed against Houston. They never trailed against San Francisco. They never trailed on Sunday against Green Bay. I want to see what Sam Darnold looks like when the Vikings are down 10-0. I want to see what Sam Darnold looks like in the second half of a game when the Vikings are trailing 24-14. We haven't had the luxury of seeing that yet. And I thought on that opening drive, Hafley's defense had a chance to set the tone, bring some pressure, and say, hey, this ain't going to be the same thing you saw the first 3 weeks where teams are afraid to bring pressure. And you can ask, hey, why aren't teams blitzing Sam Darnold? To me, it's quite simple. You look at the outside talent with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson on the outside at wide receiver. Teams are fearful of getting beat deep. A lot of these teams running defenses today in the NFL don't want to get beat deep. They'll give you the underneath stuff. They don't want to get beat for the 70-yard home run. I looked at that game yesterday, and I said one thing. Jair Alexander's out. Carrington Valentine's out. If you're Jeff Hafley, you know in that secondary, and we love Xavier McKinney, obviously. We love Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, Keyshawn Nixon, Eric Stokes, Corey Ballantyne. Love the secondary. But it's a fact that when your top 2 cornerbacks are out, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. It's even more of a fact that when your top 2 cornerbacks are out and you're facing Justin Jefferson, who is to me the best wide receiver in the NFL, and Jordan Addison, who returned from injury on Sunday and is an emerging wide receiver in his second year out of USC, you're even more behind the 8 ball. So I would have rather had seen Green Bay go down swinging, blitzing Darnold, bringing pressure, and if you get beat deep, at least you can say, hey, you know what? We weren't conservative. We didn't play back. We didn't play scared. We didn't play hesitant. We brought it. They were just better. And I didn't see enough of that from Hafley's defense and from his play calling on Sunday. And to me, it was very underwhelming, and it was very disappointing. I still have faith in this defense moving forward. It's not a Joe Barry defense. I thought at times yesterday it looked like a Joe Barry defense because it was way too conservative. And I just thought there were so many opportunities to bring pressure on Darnold, give him looks he hasn't seen in the first 4 weeks because teams are afraid of getting beat deep. And there weren't too many times the Vikings had big chunk plays. That first touchdown to Addison was a big chunk play. The 31-yard pass to Naylor on that drive a few plays before was a big chunk play. I just wanted to see Green Bay go down swinging. And if you get beat on those big plays, at least you know, hey, we emptied the clip. We tried bringing pressure from all different angles on Darnold. It just didn't work. Instead, most of the afternoon, all Green Bay did was repeat, recycle. Rush 4, rush 4, rush 4, rush 4. I tried finding how many blitzes they had exactly. I couldn't find that number. Sure in the hell wasn't a lot. It really wasn't. And I thought that was very, very disappointing from Jeff Hafley's defense. I'm still waiting for this Vikings team to face some sort of adversity. A couple other things I just wanted to hit on. I'm seeing some morons on Twitter with the Christian Watson injury, bringing up, oh yeah, Christian Watson's hurt again. What a surprise. Like in the past, it's been soft tissue injuries with his hamstring. That was a hospital ball yesterday across the middle of the field that probably should have never been thrown. Love was trying to thread the needle. I'm not blaming Love. I'm just saying it was a hospital ball. Probably shouldn't have made that throw. And Watson's body got bent back in a very awkward position. Sounds like he could be headed to injured reserve with an ankle sprain, I think was the diagnosis. But who knows? But I think it's pretty unfair to be bringing up the Watson injury history based on yesterday's, because it had nothing to do with a lot of his past injuries, which were soft tissue, hamstring injuries and things of those nature. LaFleur apologized for his unsportsmanlike penalty he got near the end of the first half. Now, the Packers not scored a touchdown anyways when Love connected with Reed for, a 17-yard touchdown. I think maybe we emphasize that penalty more. I don't mind seeing the coach fired up. And I know he said, we teach or we preach to these players, to keep things under control and blah, blah, blah. So when he doesn't do that, it's just a bad look, is what LaFleur said. I'm slightly paraphrasing. I didn't care. I like seeing my coaches fired up sometimes. That's why I said I would have preferred after the game. I didn't want LaFleur to completely throw Narveson under the bus, but I would have liked a little more pumped up quote there where it's like, yeah, it was not good. He was not good. It needs to be better, the whole operation, whatever, instead of just giving Narveson a bigger vote of confidence. But that's a tough spot for LaFleur. I'm probably nitpicking. One funny stat, it's kind of funny, like imagine being told before the season that 4 weeks in the Packers would be 2-0 with Malik Willis and 0-2 with Jordan Love. It's just weird. Like, there's nothing to make of that stat. It's just weird. They're 2-0 with Malik Willis as a starter, 0-2 with Jordan Love. One positive I will take away from this game, Jaden Reed's a stud. Jaden Reed is an absolute stud. Can he be a number one wide receiver? I don't know, but I don't think Green Bay's in a spot. They have so many options. I don't think they need a true number one wide receiver, but 7 catches on 8 targets for 139 yards and a touchdown, and we saw how good he was with Love week 1 against Philadelphia. I think those 2 Malik Willis starts, it was such a heavy run game and the game plan was so different that it would be hard for any of the wide receivers to shine against the Colts or the Titans. But as long as Love is under center, Jaden Reed's going to keep emerging as a true star wide receiver in this league. And I loved seeing his performance. So dynamic. He's one of those receivers that's very much so involved in a lot of the pre-snap motion. He can play the slot. He can play the outside. That touchdown pass was awesome because that was one of the contested catches. Green Bay was only 3 for 11 in that department. One of those contested catches was Jaden Reed's touchdown at the end of the first half. That gave Green Bay a little bit of a pulse. It was 28-0. The doctor at that point's begging to pull the plug. He's like, we're wasting energy here. Let's pull the plug and call it. The Packers are like, give us a chance. Give us a little bit of a break here, and we'll see if we could figure it out. Like I said earlier, it was 28 rip, but it was actually 28-7 after the Reed touchdown, but still just, not a good afternoon. Valiant effort to come back. I'll admit, too, when it was 28-22 with 10:16 left, I had faith that they were going to win the game, and then the Vikings just went right down the field, ended up getting points. I do think Green Bay is going to be okay, though. I do. I don't think this is, disastrous scenario. I want to believe that Jeff Hafley is going to get more aggressive, but smart aggressive, dialing things up for that defense. I'm so disappointed in the pass rush. I really am. Because I think even when Green Bay rushes for, they appear to have the talent and the names that they should be hitting home more than they are. Rashawn Gary only has 1 sack in the last 11 games. Now he has obviously more quarterback pressures filtered in there, and you can't just look at sacks as the be-all, end-all for edge rushers and their numbers, but it has been underwhelming. We haven't seen those havoc plays from Gary nearly as much as we have in years past and nearly as much as you would like. And so maybe Hafley thought we can rush 4 and still get home. But when you weren't doing it early, that's when I think the adjustment needed to be made. Instead, Darnold had a clean pocket almost the entire afternoon, and that was very frustrating to watch. 2-2, get back on the wagon, head to the West Coast, take on the Rams next week. Very depleted, injury-plagued Los Angeles Rams team. LaFleur's had good history head-to-head against Sean McVay. We'll talk about that one throughout the week. Apologize I didn't get the instant reaction video out right after the game. Told you guys Friday it would have to come on Monday. So glad I got something out. Apologize for the voice too. Fingers crossed it'll be better in the next day or two. It is Mitch. I am on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.